Let's count down the most extreme military missions in human history, starting with the least extreme and working our way up. Number 6. Operation Entebbe. Operation Entebbe, codenamed Operation Thunderbolt, was a counter-terrorist military mission in 1976 launched by Israel in Uganda. It was launched in response to a hijacked International Air France flight transporting civilians from Tel Aviv to Paris on June 28, 1976. During a layover in Athens, the plane was taken over by 2 members of the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine and 2 members of the German Revolutionary Cells organization. The 4 terrorists diverted the plane to Libya and then to Uganda, where they landed at Entebbe International Airport, where they received recognition from Ugandan dictator Idi Amin. In total, 248 passengers and 12 crew members were taken hostage. The purpose of the hijacking was to demand the release of 40 Palestinian militants imprisoned in Israel and 13 prisoners in 4 other countries. On June 30th, 48 non-Israeli hostages were released, and another 106 non-Israelis were released on July 1st. The Israeli military initiated the operation on July 3rd, 1976, where transport planes flew 100 commandos over 2,500 miles. Over 90 minutes, 102 hostages were rescued, with 3 having been killed. The Israeli soldiers killed all 4 of the terrorists, and 45 of the 100 Ugandan soldiers deployed to assist the hijacking. The risk factor of the operation was threefold, requiring military skill, intelligence, and speed. The Israeli commandos were entering an unfriendly foreign country with tight security, and risked international military escalation with hundreds of lives at stake. Number 5. The Charge of the Light Brigade. The Charge of the Light Brigade was an operation by the British Military Light Brigade against Russian forces during the Battle of Balaclava in the Crimean War. On October 25, 1854, the Light Brigade, led by Lord Cardigan, engaged in a frontal assault against a well-equipped Russian artillery battery. The light cavalry was an interesting choice, considering the troops were lightly armed and armored. Putting them up against the Russian force, which was heavily armed with guns and cannons, even with the heavy brigade present. It was a terrible decision. Overall command of the British military mission was given to Lieutenant General George Bingham, who also happened to be Lord Cardigan's brother-in-law. Lord Raglan, the commander-in-chief, could see from his high vantage point everything that was happening below, and recognized that the cavalry was ill-equipped to fight such a strong opposing force. He sent a correspondence to Lord Cardigan, which was intended to command the Light Brigade to switch to a different objective, stop the Russians from removing captured guns from Turkish positions. However, it was misinterpreted as a command to attack the Russians head-on, immediately. This resulted in the deaths of 118 men, with an additional 127 wounded and 60 taken prisoner. The fault of the miscommunication is heavily debated. Lord Raglan had Brigadier Richard Airy transcribe the order, and it was carried by Captain Lewis Nolan. Nolan also carried oral instruction that the British military should attack immediately, and when asked for clarification, gestured to the Russian guns across the valley. His reasons for the misdirection are unknown, since he was killed within the first minute of the ensuing battle. Number 4. Operation Overlord. Operation Overlord, also known as D-Day, was the Allied invasion of Normandy on June 6, 1944. It was one of the largest and most complex military operations in history. The goal was to begin the liberation of Western Europe from Nazi Germany by landing troops on the beaches of Normandy, France, to create a Western Front. The plan involved over 156,000 troops from the US, UK, and Canada, and thousands of aircraft, ships, and tanks. It's no surprise that the operation was risky. The German military had heavily fortified the French beaches with guns, bunkers, and landmines. The Allies anticipated this resistance, and their success was uncertain going in. The operation needed absolute secrecy and coordination. Since they were trying to surprise the Germans, failure on any of these criteria would have led to defeat. The Allies also had to deal with unpredictable weather, and the operation was pushed back multiple times due to storms that reduced visibility and air support. The scale of the attack meant it was incredibly easy to lose the maintenance of supply lines and reinforcement, which could lead to a breakdown. Despite all these challenges, the operation was successful. The Allied forces secured a position in Europe, which ultimately led to the collapse of Nazi Germany. Number 3. Mongol invasion of the Khwarezmian Empire. The Mongol invasion of the Khwarezmian Empire, led by Genghis Khan from 1219 to 1221 CE, was a military campaign fueled by vengeance after the Khwarezmian Shah killed a Mongol trade delegation. In a furied response, Genghis Khan launched a campaign to destroy the empire, which consisted of modern-day Iran, Uzbekistan, and parts of Kazakhstan, and Turkmenistan. Despite the Mongols' speed and cavalry methods, they faced significant risks during the invasion. First, they had to cross vast hostile territories, including deserts and mountains, which challenged their logistical capabilities and strained supply lines. The Khwarezmians were also a competent force, with fortified cities and a powerful military, which made a head-on attack difficult for the Mongols. Due to the central location of the empire, the Mongols risked inviting intervention from other states, which could have overwhelmed the Mongol forces. Genghis Khan took all of this into account and was ruthless in his precision. He used psychological warfare, false retreats, and complete destruction of cities so that no opposing force could survive. One key factor was that the Mongols had no mercy when it came to punishing civilians and massacred entire cities to send a message. The Mongols successfully destroyed the Khwarezmian Empire and took it over completely. Number 2. Operation Valkyrie. Operation Valkyrie was a bold and unsuccessful military mission by German military officers to assassinate Adolf Hitler and overthrow the Nazi regime in World War II. On July 20th, 1944, it was orchestrated by a group of senior officers within the German resistance. The plan was to kill Hitler and replace Nazi leadership with a moderate anti-Nazi administration. The plan rose from frustration with Hitler's leadership, which had steadily led Germany to apparent ruin through failed military campaigns. The conspirators hoped that by eliminating Hitler, they could find peace with the Allies and prevent further destruction in Germany. Colonel Klaus von Stauffenberg was a central figure in the plot and was selected to carry out the assassination. During a meeting at Hitler's headquarters, called the Wolf's Lair, he managed to conceal a bomb and place it near the dictator. However, due to unforeseen circumstances, the bomb failed to kill Hitler, and he survived with only minor injuries. Even though the assassination did not go to plan, Operation Valkyrie was still in place, which was a contingency plan in case of civil unrest. It was unsuccessful due to coordination and communication failures, as well as the interference of Nazi loyalists. The plot was dangerous for a multitude of reasons. Any attempt to assassinate Hitler was met with danger, since the Nazi regime was infamous for its brutality to any perceived threat. The conspirators knew they faced certain death if they were discovered, and most were arrested and executed following the attempt. The operation also involved high-ranking military officers, meaning it could easily backfire. The lack of support from the general population and the military only added to the risk factor of the plot. The plot's failure led to the executions of hundreds of people, and the Nazi regime's grip on power remained. Number 1. Operation Downfall. Operation Downfall was a planned Allied invasion of Japan, which was intended to end World War II by securing the Japanese islands. It was scheduled for late 1945 or early 1946, and was divided into two major phases: Operation Olympic, which was to capture the southern island of Kyushu, and Operation Coronet, which would follow with an assault to the Tokyo Plain. The operation was intended to force Japan to surrender by overwhelming its defenses, but it did not come without risks. The main challenge Operation Downfall anticipated was the scale of resistance. Japan's military was ready to fight to the death, with many troops waiting on the home islands. The civilian population had also been mobilized to resist the invasion in a total war strategy, including the formation of military units and the use of kamikaze tactics. The size and complexity of the operation was another significant challenge, since the Allied forces had to maintain long and exposed supply lines across the Pacific, which could have been attacked by Japanese or other Axis forces. The human cost of the operation was supposed to be monumental. The Allies projected that they could have suffered almost 1 million casualties, along with even more Japanese casualties. Since the death toll was expected to be so high, the plan was considered a last resort. However, Operation Downfall was never actually executed. The surrender of Japan after the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August of 1945 rendered the operation useless. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a comment to tell us what you think about this video in the comments section below.